Liz Donatelli. Welcome to Reader Seeks Romance, a romance novel talk show that features entertaining interviews with authors, publishing insiders, and influencers. In this episode, rom-com author Olivia Dade discusses her contemporary fat-positive romance, Spoiler Alert. Olivia also chats about her former job at Colonial Williamsburg and about the time she entered a costume contest dressed as a lobster. Those two aren't related. Enjoy! Also, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe at the end of this video. Hi, Olivia! Welcome to Reader Seeks Romance.
Hi, Liz. Thank you so much for having me. There is a very big budget, prestige television fantasy show a la Game of Thrones, but not Game of Thrones for various legal reasons. One of the actors on the show is very frustrated with how his character arc is gone and how the show is going. He plays Aeneas on the show because it's sort of loosely based on the Aeneid by Virgil. And so he's actually secretly writing fan fiction for his own show anonymously to sort of get out his frustration with the show. And he is very good friends with April, with his beta reader. And she decides that she's going to post a picture of herself in Lavinia, which is Aeneas's wife, cosplay, and then get some unpleasant comments because she is very pretty, also fat, and gets some body shaming comments, which don't really bother her, but they bother him. Then he asks her out to sort of spite the horrible fanboys. He has no idea who she is, that she's his best friend online. There's immediate chemistry. And then the question becomes, when do each of them find out that they already know one another? And once they find that out, do they tell the other person? And it's sort of a love letter to fandom and fan fiction and found family and fatness. And I loved writing it. Fan fiction are stories written by fans of a particular sort of intellectual property. So it could be a book, a movie, a television show, anime character, whatever. And it is fiction written based on those characters. So it's not going to be something that can be published because it would be in violation of various copyright laws. But they take those characters and their interactions and then spin it into just an endless series of different stories. Many of them are some of the best things I've read in the past several years.
So Marcus is an uber famous hunky actor, and April, as you said, is a geologist who self-identifies as fat. What appeals to you about a celebrity, non-celebrity pairing in which one character is deemed hot and the other is viewed as less so or not by societal standards?
I think for me, it's less about necessarily the celebrity aspect. The celebrity aspect came in sort of the premise of the story rather than the specific coupling, I would say. But the whole idea that, she has a conventionally attractive male main character and that she is quite pretty. She is also fat, and that there will be some people who will consider her not pretty for that reason. And to be clear, you can be worthy of love and be desired even if you aren't pretty or not considered pretty, and if you're fat. So there's no one good type of fatness where you only are a good type of fat or desirable type of fat if you are also quite pretty. So to be clear, and in fact, the female main character of the follow-up book, Lauren, is not considered, even if she were thin, would not be considered conventionally attractive. She is fat and very short, or as Alex, her hero, says, improbably short. But she's also, so just to be clear, you don't have to be pretty as well to be desirable if you're fat. But I have found that particularly in television and movies, that the few times that you have a fat female main character, she is always paired with a fat male main character as her love interest. The general implication is that if you are a fat woman, the only person who could desire you and want you and be with you and love you is another fat person. And so I deliberately wanted to work against that. So the character of Marcus, his appearance is inspired by Nikolai Coster-Waldau because, as I said, I find him astonishingly hot. And sort of the position he is in the final season of his fictional show that I wrote is similar to the position that Nikolai Coster-Waldau may have been in, although he has said that he liked the final season. But past that, Marcus is his own person. So I just want to make that clear because I didn't want people to think that it's about Nikolai Coster-Waldau. He's sort of an inspiration for the looks and sort of the position that the character is in, but not the actual character.
Would be something if he reached out to you. He's like, hey, I heard about you.
Hello?
I would die. You would have to dig me a hole so deep in the earth. You would dig me out the other side. I don't know what's on the other side from here, New Zealand. I don't know. Actually, it would be kind of nice to go to New Zealand right now.
Yeah.
I would never emerge. I would become a mole person, Liz.
How do you write sex scenes where you actually enjoy writing them? Like, why do you like writing them? Why do you like sex? And why do you like writing about it?
When I write my sex scene, I have to write it undisturbed because you have to disconnect from your conscious brain enough that I'm not being like, I can't think too hard about it or else I lose my groove. I can't even edit sex scenes like first thing in the morning because I do get a little cringy because it's just a lot. But if you're in the right mood, to be blunt, sometimes if you think of sex at an intellectual remove, it's kind of ridiculous. My mom for a while would call. I don't know how. She had this weird mom radar that I was writing a sex scene and she would call and I would just refuse her calls. Because I'm like, you were not going to interrupt me. I have to reach the end. My goal is to write it in such a way that I find it hot, and then hopefully my readers will too.
Yeah. Yes. This reader did.
I genuinely don't remember because I was reading them from the time I was 6 or 7. There was a pile in my mother's closet that I was not supposed to read. So as soon as they left the house, I would read them. So you should assume it was like early 80s romance. A lot of the time, my mom read a lot of historical romance with a lot of pirates, a lot of virgins, a lot of kidnapping, like a lot of virgins getting kidnapped, a lot of consent issues. And it took me a while to sort of understand fully what was happening. But I was reading those from the time I was basically almost able to read. Every Scholastic book fair I went to, they also had the Sunfire Romances, which were basically historical romance with training wheels, all set in these different periods in American history, where this plucky young woman has to choose between two boys, two men. And of course, as a modern day romance reader, I'm like, why does she have to choose? She can have both.
Oh, I like that line of thinking. I think I read one of them. And
they always had women's names, the girls' names.
Yes. I was just going to say that. Oh my God, I'm getting chills. I read the one Sabrina, I think it was, and she was in the American Revolution.
I have almost all of them. And I still have them because I love them so. So even when I was not reading romance, they were really romances, always. So I was reading non-age appropriate romances, but also age appropriate romances.
You're reading it all. Is there a particular fandom that brings you great joy?
That is number one above all else. The Jaime Lannister, Brienne of Tarth fandom, the JB fandom. In some circles and other circles, the Brainy fandom. They have amazing writers. I've read a number of published books, amazing published books, but some of these fics that I've read are as good as or better than what I've seen published.
Would you rather build a gaming PC with Superman/The Witcher actor Henry Cavill, or would you rather play Dungeons and Dragons with actor and dungeon master Joe Manganiello?
First of all, calling him a dungeon master. I know it's the correct term. I have to giggle to myself. I will say, and this may be more blunt than you want for this, is that while I personally find Henry Cavill like unbearably hot, he's just like thick bodied. But he made this comment about the Me Too movement, about how he's scared to date because of the Me Too movement.
Really?
Like, and I was like, eh.
No,
So I
no
enjoy
kidding.
looking at him, but like I was really unimpressed with that comment. So I gotta go for the other dude. I gotta go for Joe
Manganiello.
Yes, I gotta go for him instead.
Okay.
Besides Dungeon Master, Liz.
I know. Of course, when I read it too, I was like, oh, that could be like, mean a couple of things.
There has to be a romance where a dude is like a dungeon master, but also a dungeon master.
Oh my God. And you're the one to write it. Please write it.
No, I'm not, but I've never played D&D.
It's okay. Just learn.
And I don't write BDSM either. But if it hasn't been written, I should tweet about that. I'm sure it's been written. But if it hasn't, someone has to.
I think yes. I think the answer is yes. Have you ever entered a cosplay contest? And if so, who or what did you dress as?
I have not. Unless you call Halloween contests. We had a neighborhood Halloween contest when I was a kid, where you would take a little hayride to the neighborhood barn and then prance around in a circle showing off your costume. My mother fashioned cardboard into what I consider the pinnacle of all of my Halloween costumes, a lobster. She painted cardboard red and made me a very creditable lobster. And I, to this day, believe I was robbed. I should have won. I had a little bib that said, "For the seafood lover in you." I know.
Wow.
I told you I was robbed, Liz.
Why a lobster? Was that something you requested?
I don't think so. It is lost to the sands of time.
So I am a living history and museum nerd. I was very excited to learn that you were a Colonial Williamsburg interpreter. What did you do exactly?
An interpreter, the way that they use that term, is someone who explains the past, basically interprets the past to visitors. My first summer, I was at the military encampment, and I dressed in male clothing as an extremely unconvincing male sergeant, the giggliest male sergeant you have ever seen in your entire life. But I did learn how to, not using just using black powder, but not using like bullets or anything. I learned how to fire a musket, and also to fire a cannon. It was actually the most incestuous workplace I've ever worked. A lot of people who dated other people, I did, so there were affairs, there were relationships. The people there tended to do, particularly the younger folks, do everything there. So it was their friend circle, it was their work, it was where they lived. There were certain character interpreters who never really dropped character, even when they were in the break room, like heating their burrito in the microwave. They'd be like, "Good day, my lady." And you're just like, dude, you're heating your burrito.
Well, thank you so much, Olivia, for taking time to chat with me here at Reader Seeks Romance.
And thank you for letting me ramble, definitely.
Anytime.